How you doing, man? Or surviving this? What's it? Yeah, just yesterday we did this skull with 35 brushstrokes a piece, and we did 8 of them. And today we're gonna do this. We're gonna do at least one, maybe 2 full size, without brushstroke limitations as far as the number. But we're gonna have some rules as far as like taking like a linear brushstroke, and I can't fully color check. Oh, what's up, the singing gnome? How are you today? You like those paintings I gave you? How are you doing surviving this though? I haven't, it's been about a week, I think. I took a few days off. Good, I'm glad you like them. I should have given you those earlier. I just was going through my stuff and saw them. I thought you'd like them. Maybe you can have this one too. We'll see how it turns out first, though. You're welcome. Thanks for stopping by, Surviving. I appreciate it, man. And maybe after dinner you check back in and see how we're doing, whether it's terrible or just mediocre. But yeah, if this goes fast, I'm gonna try and paint this pretty loose, and I'm not gonna be fidgeting around with super. I'm still gonna try and paint in my best ability, but I'm trying to keep this like to around like 2 hours per iteration. So yeah, we're trying to paint this in Oh, cool. Thanks for checking them out, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, because like Twitch will like delete them after a certain amount of time, so I figured I just put, I just always export them after the stream. So yeah, thanks for checking those out. I'm glad somebody's using them for their intended purpose. All right, let's get some paint on the palette and get started. This is one of those 12 by 16 sheets that I just taped on top and bottom. So resulting is 14.5 by 12. And then we got the titanium white, almost at the end of this too, from Williamsburg, the bismuth anodate yellow from Williamsburg, pyro red from Williamsburg, ultramarine blue from Williamsburg, Michael Harding burnt umber. To mix, I'm gonna mix my black today with Williamsburg burnt umber and Williamsburg ultramarine blue French, because I do need to use those up. I'm also gonna put a little bit of ivory black in it, because ivory black is actually about a half step darker than what this mixes, and I prefer to kind of clean up the value a little bit. I've been mixing a lot of blacks to see what is the darkest one, and I've been measuring it with like a red, green, blue color reader. And ivory black is the darkest black so far I've measured. I've measured Mars black. I've measured a mixture of phthalo green and diazonine purple. I've measured, this. I measured like a couple other, like I tried adding like burnt umber to that phthalo green and Maxine purple, because the resultant is a very blue and cold, and I thought burnt umber could possibly lower it, but it actually didn't. Williamsburg has a purple called Egyptian violet, that measures almost the same as ivory black in like a, yeah. Well, to give you, there's this HSB scale also, which is related to red, green, blue color scale, and so they have a brightness level. So this ivory black measures at 11%. So where 0 being absolute black and 100 being absolute white. This mixture of ultramarine blue and burnt umber measures at 14%, to give you perspective. My burnt umber is at 18. Ultramarine blues, so depending on that one, it measures a little bit less consistently, but it's somewhere in the 17% range. Mars Black was in that 14% range. So Ivory Black, by every measurement, has been the darkest color that's also neutral that I've measured. Now I have one additional black that I'm going to try out, Lamp Black, but I've heard some issues about its light fastness that concerns me, but I'm still going to measure it to see. And I might be over fixating on this issue, but I'd like my first and foremost thing I want to improve above everything else is having accurate values in my painting. Then it's color, then it's drawing. And so I've been really investigating that range. And to give you perspective, I read online that the phthalo green and dioxazine purple is the darkest chromatic black you can measure, but it was on the HSB brightness scale, I think it was measured at 16%. It was 16 or 15%, so it was actually not as dark as this combination. So I've been also thinking about other combinations because to get a dark black, you need two dark valued complementary colors, right? So it could be red and green, purple and yellow, or blue and orange, right? But that's why this one works, because you can get a very dark brown and you can get a very dark blue, probably the easiest. There's dark purples, but there's not really dark yellows available, so you have to use a yellowish green, but there's not a lot of dark ones of those either. So yeah, it's interesting how they kind of interact with each other. But anyways, let's get paint on the palette. But regarding the red, green, blue color scale, my red is, as I was what I was hoping for, is very red. It measures it measured 180.00. So there's no yellow, there's no green and there's no blue in this red. This is a very pure primary red. Now and it's also 60% around that on the brightness scale too. The yellow measured at 255 red and 215 green and 0 blue. So it's a very, very close to primary yellow, pure primary yellow, but it's also very bright. It was at 100% on the brightness scale. Just full saturation though. It's too much red. The most off color with regards to this palette, with regards to primaries, is the ultramarine blue. The ultramarine blue is usually around 1818, 40, 1860. So there's a little bit of everything in the ultramarine blue. And one interesting note too on measuring the color RGB scale is that the burnt umbers are a little bit more desaturated than I expected them. But so is the ultramarine blue. Alright, let's mix our black. And we're going to put a little burnt umber off to the side for sketching. And I decided to mix this black because I do need to use this up, but I also quantity-wise want more of the black than than usual. And like so, we're gonna add a touch of this ivory black. Let's mix. Touch of oil. Okay. Let's do some sketching. We'll see how this goes. We're not going to use a very big brush for sketching. Just use something comfortable. But we're not going to put too much detail into the let's do a center line too. Perfect. Perfect. Actually, let me put center lines in here. So the ones I've been working on, or how I'm approaching it, is kind of focusing on shapes and then anchoring it to a certain point. So you see I added a center line here. So like if I really want a perfect painting, right, I measure details from the center line, but you know, in this recent trajectory of mine for about the past month, I've been just using general skills. So it's kind of like I have a general grid here, and so I got to think about where I'm moving relative to my anchor point, which is going to be the center, right? And this is kind of like keeping proportions, is always thinking about things relative to a certain point, right? So, you know, why I put these lines at the top is because I knew that they were a small amount from top to the bottom, like from the bottom, which is not necessarily ideal, but they could serve as a general, you know, point. But here, so I know that my nose is here, so I know that I could just put a general nose here and then work off of that relative. So you kind of build it off of something while keeping it anchored to a point. That's kind of like how I work off of it. Now I am uneducated with regard to like professional drawing, right? Coincidentally though, I'm in more detailed, like I have an engineering degree and I've done quite a bit of engineering drawing and modeling. So like when I think about things in like dimensions and tolerances. Basically, center out is a good way, because if I'm working from the top down, let's say, if this is crooked, right, it's going to throw off things, right? But if I make a center line, it's arbitrary how these outside edges are, right? And I know this is not like a perfect center, right? But it creates something that can an arbitrary point that is irrelevant to outside factors, right? And then, like, just like I said, keeping proportions. So, like, for example, on the skull, right? So if I make my nose, right? Let's just say right there, right? And I'm keeping in mind that's like around my center point. And so I have my nose here, right? So I know that this nose, the top point of this nose, is above the bottom of the eye, right? So then I know my eye has to be somewhere, like its bottom has to be somewhere around this range. And it also lines up with my center, like with my center line, right? So you kind of build up, those relationships together and try and give yourself, like opportunities to check your your relationships to other things while you're doing it, right? And just also be confident that you can fix things, after you do them too, right? So, because it will look fine if the relationships are generally close to each other, right? So like I said, I know that the top of the nose is above, and actually, good thing I thought about this more. The top of the nose should also be above this point. So like I can bring this down a little bit more. Also, like when drawing, a lot of people like stress like, straight, like just paint with straight lines, which is a good idea. But I think the other thing is just to make sure don't stress yourself out. Since this is all black over here, the important part is just nailing kind of like the eye cavity and the angle. But we know this whole area is dark outside of So one thing I'm concerned about is maybe that's too far left. Maybe even more. Yeah, that's a big tip that comes up over and over again, is right, simplify the process, right? So it's instead of worrying about the complexity of a curve, right, focus on just like straight lines and working from there. So I could just paint this all black, for example. But I realized that my eye was too far left regards to my center line, right? So now I have to, I had to bring this over. And because the eyes are somewhat shifted and I can play around with that. But yeah, that's the thing. It's right, like good drawers have done it enough, right? Where they kind of just do that intuitively, but they're always keeping track of like relations, right? Because if I know that there's a straight line like right here over the eye, I know that that can serve as a boundary, and I can work off of my work off of that eye where I place that other boundary, right? So I know that there's at least a relationship with that. Kind of same over here, but I know that there's a thing that will fix. See, I think this whole area is shifted too far to the left. So we're just going to have to fix that in post. So we know the mouth. It's probably too far left again. I'm not gonna get too detailed on this sketch, but see this might need to go down more. Let's do something. Yes, I that is one that I have been practicing a lot, is practice, well, not practice, light, dark to light in oil paints is a fairly good approach. Awesome, man. Thanks for stopping by. Have a good dinner. All right, that's good enough. right, so once again, my rules for painting today. Are I can only make linear strokes with either the full flat, if I'm going this way, but I can also go like a smaller line with this way. And I could do just an in-place like dot if I wanted to, but I can't do like a back and forth thing with the same brush stroke. I have unlimited brush strokes to use. In addition, I can't do a full color check, like compare the color to. I can pick out colors, but I can't fully check them. So, and then the other thing is I'm not going to pre-mix any colors. I'm going to mix them for the brush stroke that I want. Yeah. So that's the plan for today. So let's start. All right. Right. It's kind of weird not counting my brush strokes. I almost said one there. actually. All right. Let's go. Off to the side over here. That's a good spot for a break, I think. I think it's a good hour. I don't think it looks like complete shit. The values over here need to be cleaned up a little bit. But I gotta start laying down the bright areas. But I think I can finish this in about an hour. Open. If not, there'll be hell to pay. I'm gonna take about a 5-minute break. I'll be back. And I'm back. Sorry about that. I had a phone call. All right. Thank you. So far, so good, I think. The thing I gotta refrain from doing is like fine-tuning stuff too much, I think. You know, the goal of this is to keep it simple, keep it loose, and go from there. But yeah, I'm actually happy with it so far, so thank you. Let's see, I should probably do... You have a good dinner? Not bad. Could do a lot worse, but yeah, that sounds like a good dinner. So yes and no, right? It depends on, like, I have aspirations, right? Like, I want to be able to paint like John Singer Sargent, right? I know that sounds pretty egotistical, right? So, you know, I'm doing these exercises to kind of help me get to the levels of my aspirations. And that's kind of largely where this is what I'm pushing towards. Ideally, right? I just realized something I did. I have not done a master's study, and I'm a little hesitant to, because why I'm iffy about copying somebody's work is that, and I understand that, like, some people find value in them, and I'm not degrading that, but it's more about, like, I feel like copying, for my case, detracts from learning things, because I don't want to go in there and try and, like, match his brushstrokes because that's what he decided to do. I like the concept, though, of studying, like, the stuff that he did and trying to understand why he made those decisions. But I don't know, I'm hesitant to do a master's study, but that could be my ego speaking as well. Not to say that there's nothing that I could learn from it. That's too presumptuous or benevolent or whatever. Not benevolent. Omnipotent. But I don't know. I guess I'm saying is I don't know what I'd want to achieve with doing that. Is probably the best way of saying it. Have you done master studies at all? Because granted, I never went to, like, school, or you know, I never had an art class above sophomore year of high school. Yeah. Well, yeah, he is by a significant margin my favorite painter. I mean, I just love it. I love the loose style. I love how he just, like, I like his, at least, history. Like, he kind of painted things and gave no fucks about it. You know, there's just, like, a lot that I just, like, admire. His paint style. Now, the other thing is he is a genius. Yeah. I'll say this with authority, is I wouldn't rush into doing a master's study. I think it's better to comprehend basics and fundamentals, because it's like the ability to comprehend what they're doing, I think, is rooted in understanding, like, basics and fundamentals, right? That's why I'm kind of like, I guess that's probably a better way of saying why I'm weary of doing a master study, is because it's like, well, if I don't really have my fundamentals down, could it be a trap, so to speak, to be like, oh, I'm going to copy one of the best painters of all time stuff, but I'm not going to comprehend why it's, like, you know, one of the, you know, one of, like, the better things ever, right? So I mean, it's taught enough that like there's obviously probably some heavy merit to it, but I don't think I could appreciate it with my current skill set. I forgot. Were you painting in oils or were you painting in water? I have a memory of you saying you painted watercolors, right? Yeah, see, that's where I don't know if I agree, like, fully, because it's like, okay, yeah, okay, I remember that comment now. So it's like, so like, you know, with my research, you know, I've done into Sargent, right? His teacher considered him a genius. There's a quote that's saying like, at 22, there was nothing left to teach him because he was that good already, right? So I'm also a little weary of like comprehending the work of a genius, right? Like understanding like the decisions of somebody who's that good, right? I almost feel like it would be more useful to try and understand his like workflow more than anything. Because it's like he was such a unique talent. Yeah, see, like I think there's a lot of value in that, right? Like practicing repetitive things, right? Like I said, like kind of, it's why I'm doing what I'm doing, right? Is that right, I'm trying to repeat things over and over again because I have my sole focus, right? I gave you my top 3, right? Hitting values properly, then hitting color, and then drawing, right? And a lot of these exercises are meant to kind of highlight. Yes, I do think doing pencil will help with values quite a bit. See, where I struggle with values is seeing a color and understanding what value like it truly is. That's where I struggle quite a bit, at least with things that I've been doing. But when you're learning something, there's also aspects of like if you're trying to learn something new, you want to try and limit the variables of what you're doing so that you're not trying to learn several things at once, right? At least in some cases, right? That may not be true, but this is in the context of art. So it's like, that's why I've kind of busted it down, right? The only things I'm not even concerned with the drawing so much here, but I want to hit value, I want to hit color, I'd like my proportions to be decent. So let's pick simple things, right, that fulfill those requirements, right? So I'm not doing like a scene of people with a lot of different values, with a lot of different colors of varying values themselves, right? Let's keep this within some reasonable range. And so going back to the master study, it's like a lot of master studies are. Thank you. Yeah, like with a master study, right? We're looking at somebody who's like comprehending colors, values, they're drawing. They're contemplating their brush strokes, right? Like maybe they're contemplating texture. A complex, composition, right? There's a lot of things going on there, right? And until I was truly comfortable with, like, let's say I thought I was very good with values and color, right? Well, then I can move on to, okay, now there's compositional things or like other techniques that this master was really good at. And knowing that I could see his colors, comprehend his values, and hit them, I would feel, I think there would be plenty of value in doing a master study, at least for me. But like, if I struggle to hit the proper values, it's like, oh, look I copied John Singer Sargent's, I think it's called Girls of the Lantern or Madam X, right? And it's like, oh yeah, it's kind of like it, but it's like, and then I'll just look at it, oh, well, yeah, the colors and the values are off, but, I still painted it, in a cool way. That's where I struggle with this, with that, like that approach to learning in my current state, at least. But it's something I shouldn't forget about. All right, so now we're gonna lay in some of the lighter lights. I'm gonna bring in another brush for this because I got one for midtones, I got one for darks. Yeah, I seen there's a guy, Adam Tischler on YouTube who uses daggers. I'm just using flat brushes. I'm a big advocate of cheap brushes. So I buy these brushes on a set off of Amazon. They're less than $1 a piece. And because all I want is kind of just this flat. I've learned that I like flats. They're like a nylon, so they're not like hog's hair sharp, and I like large ones. So these ones are a little bit nicer. This one was like a $15 brush. It's a size 14. So I try to use larger brushes larger brushes than necessary, kind of at all times. Like if you notice, I try and hold my brushes on like a wand and near the end. Like I'll hold this brush like that. I do not like painting like this. I don't think that's good to learn that way personally. I think it will definitely not benefit in the long run. And so yeah, I've learned that I've really only like flat brushes, and the quality, like the material, I have to like the material, but like I said, this brush is less than $1. There's a pack of like 10 of them for like $9. Because it kind of goes into like relative to like foundational basics and stuff like that. I could have $1,000 brushes. Let's say hypothetically that they mean $1,000 brushes. $1,000 brush is not going to make me a maestro. Just a superb painter. Plus, I'm not good at taking care of my brushes either. So, so there's also that. but it's about finding a shape that you like. So I'm not like I like flats. Is basically the moral of that whole tangent I went on. I've also tried some brushes that are like daggers, and I just always kind of went back to flats. Exactly, right? Now, the one thing I do spend a lot of money on is I buy high quality paint. And that might be a little, I don't know. That I maybe shouldn't, but I've used. Essentially, what happened is I was using cheaper stuff for a while, and I got annoyed by how poorly they mixed together and like the ratios I had to do. And then basically, I found a guy on YouTube who advocated for a primary palette, and then I just kind of like found the best versions of that color of that primary palette, and I went with that. Okay, so I need to touch up that area with black. So like I said, I might be presumptuous with like using high quality, like professional grade paint, but I don't regret that decision. Yeah, that's the same exact one. He's my favorite. He's the best learning tool on YouTube. My palette is his, but with just not his paints, the Geneva paints. So it's titanium white, bismuth vanadate yellow, which is the yellow. That's where I found the yellow that he uses. But this is from Williamsburg. Is the only other company that, at least that I found, that carries it. Pyro red, ultramarine blue, and burnt umber. And then like he mixes the black, and I like my prior discussion with the black paints, I purchased one, or I'm purchasing now. I love him. He's that's how I mix my paints, with his color checking style. He's a good dude. I pretty much like watched all of his videos. I even built a color checker of his. That's good. I haven't heard of that one. I'll have to check them out because I've also watched some videos from Paint Coach, who's been pretty good. He can be a little like clickbaity at times, and he's selling a course too. That's why I kind of really appreciate Draw Mix Paint quite a bit. But I'll have to check that out. But yeah, I don't like the nature of a lot of art teachers on on YouTube, because a lot of it is frankly in my opinion can be made for the sake of creating content. And I don't have a problem with them making content like that, but it's not a lot of them are not as I'll say teacherly, because they're meant more for creating. Right, yeah, they're made to try and get people to watch the video versus actually teaching content. That's why I like Draw Mix Paint a lot, and I would push anybody to watch his videos more so than anybody else I've encountered. Specifically, his stuff on mixing color is fantastic. Yeah, I think you share my appreciation of realism stuff, and that's why I like John Singer Sargent. I don't know how much you've gone into historical artists, but Ilya Repin, and Draw Mix Paint has talked about him a few times, and Anders Zorn. Those are my top three by a significant margin. Now I have found some modern artists. Not I'm talking about people who are currently still alive who paint a lot like that. So if you're looking for some current people, I highly suggest going to their her name's Karen Offit. Karen Offit is one of the closest people I've seen to painting like Sargent, who is still currently alive. I mean, she's still fairly young too. I only think she's in her 40s. She's fantastic. Morgan Weisling, I don't know if you're familiar with him. He's not as he's realism, but he's very expressive. Yeah, I forget how she spells it, but I think it is Offit. Mark, Draw Mix Paint actually mentioned her. I found her through a Draw Mix Paint video, coincidentally. But her stuff is fantastic. That's it. Cool. Yeah, check out her stuff. You'll probably love. I mean, based on our discussion, you'll probably love her stuff. She is very, very akin to that loose realism. Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, the other guy that I mentioned is Morgan Wiesling. I think his Instagram is mwiesling, Wiesling. He used to paint paint the movie posters from like the 80s and 90s. Like I think he he did some I think he did some like Schwarzenegger movies and like movie posters and stuff. And he has some really cool stuff, but he paints very expressively, but it is based in realism. So he's another one I would highly recommend checking out. He does a lot of like Western Native American stuff. But it's really well done. Morgan. Yeah, no worries. So it's Morgan, Morgan, Wiesling, Wiesling. He has an Instagram too, and I think his Instagram is just M Wiesling. I think that's his Instagram. Yep. No problem. But yeah, I really enjoy his stuff. He's a bit more of like, he's really naturally talented, like Karen is too. So I guess it's kind of a moot point. But his stuff is fantastic. Yeah, he definitely does. Like, he puts a lot of those like little marks, and like, if you look scrolling really close, like there's a lot of like, he'll be like painting a face, and then he'll just put like a desaturated green stroke in places. He'll do stuff like that. that I find super impressive. Um, but but he's like I said, he's just very impressive to me. Yeah, no, when I saw her stuff, I'm like, holy moly, she's. I mean, like I said, she's probably the closest one that I've seen to like painting like Sargent, in my opinion. I find with a lot of those like, like amazing painters, their use of non-standard colors, like for like specifically portraits, like their uses of greens and their uses of essentially cool colors is at a level that I aspire to, I'll say. Also, if you like follow them on Instagram and like look through, if you just kind of like look at their stuff, you'll see a lot of people who paint with that type of realism. So that has actually helped me find like, I don't remember a lot of their names, unfortunately, but like I found a lot of people on Instagram who paint in that like loose realism that I just love. Yep, I've watched that video, and I tried doing it with a skull. This is when I realized my values were terrible. Is that I did that exercise and it just failed horribly. I did it with a skull, and I picked several colors that were, too close in value. I couldn't comprehend it well, and I just did not get, the result I wanted, or a result that I felt like I comprehended what was going on, is a better way of saying it. But it was literally that exercise that like made me rethink a lot of things in my reflection on it. But Pain Coach like talks about a lot of valuable things. So I do recommend his his videos as well. Like I said, my only issue with him is that his videos can be a little clickbaity at times. Yeah, I am a firm believer that hitting your values is the single most important thing for realism. That Twain video is a perfect example of it. Yeah, so we've consumed a lot of the the same painting lessons. Because yeah, I'm completely self-taught. So I'm only working off of what I have basically mimicked and seen other people do and or tell me. I'll have to check that out because, yeah, I am not a fan of my drawing skills at all. Because I hate when I start off a painting and I'm not confident, or I think that's actually a better way to put it, is drawing could be a way to, like, avoid painting something that you really like because you're not confident. You're not confident that I could, like, achieve the drawing. That has stopped me several times from doing something I think is really cool. Hmm. Alright, I'm going to take a quick break. We come back and we're going to finish this thing up. We're almost there. Only about 5 minutes. I might be a little too hung up on the details on this one. But I'm fairly happy with it so far. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to touch up some of the black, specifically the teeth region and this side of the skull. So that's the plan of attack. All right, I'll be back in about 5 minutes. Don't panic. No worries. Oh, I'm back. And no worries surviving. I was away as well. We are almost there. All right. Thank you. So I'm going to touch up the black in certain areas, right? Get my form a little bit better. Specifically here and on the teeth. Then I see some things on the jaw that I need to give some love to. And then we'll do the last thing I'm going to do is those like white highlights, like the big areas of white, and give those, and I think it will really help finalize the values. Thank you. Yeah, it's part of the right, like hitting the values. I find it hard to kind of like mix proper darker colors, but it's kind of something I've been also focusing on. Hence why I measured the black paint, like I told you about, because a lot of things measure as dark as like the black I was using, and so it's like, well, do I just paint this all black? But I like in the photo I'm using, I could see different forms there, right? So it's not just light dark contrast. There's color contrast in the dark paints, but if my black is already lighter than those, like how do I mix them? So that's why I was trying to find the darkest black that I could to help me expand some range of colors I can mix. Let's pull up a smaller brush. All right. Yeah, well, that's what's so amazing about it, right? Like with John Singer Sargent, I always tell people, like, you know, you look at it like, oh yeah, it looks great. But I'm like, zoom in, and I told, they're specifically on one of his paintings, one's wearing pearls. I'm like, yeah, look at the pearls. And it's just like a smudge, and a smudge, and a smudge. And that's all it was. And he could see that that simplification was perfect for what he was trying to do, right? Like, it feels like a type of magic. You know, like, it's, how can he comprehend that like smudge will work as well as it does? And I love it. Yeah, it really, I couldn't agree more. It feels like, and that's why, like, you know, I threw around the word genius, but, you know, it's different when you're trying to, like, comprehend it, you know, as a point of learning, right? What did that happen? Yeah, he's just, it's so amazing and wonderful. Like, it's what got me, like, his stuff is what got me interested in art, is, like, the best way of putting it. His ability to do that stuff, yeah, there's no other way. It's just like, there is a type of magic in the world. So I gotta be careful, specifically in this area, about making it too bright. Exactly, and that's why, like, with how I research it, it's just like, why do I struggle seeing values and color? And you realize it's because your brain fills in certain vacancies that are there, right? So it's like John Singer Sargent had such a comprehension of light and color that it tricks your brain into seeing stuff that's just straight up not there. And it's wonderful. There's, like, no other way to say it. But I do explain it just like how you did. It's like he's purposefully tricking your brain. Yep. I mean, that's why, you know, learning values, in my opinion, is so hard. It's because you're fighting the illusion of all the colors it's surrounded by. And it's amazing how some people can naturally kind of pick up on that stuff too. But a lot of people put in tremendous amount of work in it as well. I don't want to detract from somebody's work at all. I have not, and the reason why is I do everything I've painted has been in one sitting. It's just how I work. I have not touched a painting on a second day. So I've had some long sessions. I think the longest I've done is a 13-hour painting. So yeah, that is not something I've personally had to deal with. In my work with painting. Now, I also say I've looked at my stuff on the day after and disliked it quite a bit. So I guess that's like my rendition of the Artist's Curse, but I don't touch it back up. That's kind of like a rule I have, is I like force myself to look at my work. That has definitely happened with me as well. But I always try and keep an even keel. I really try not be results orientated with my stuff. But that can be hard to do, straight up, as you're probably familiar with. It's especially when you post stuff to social media. But because like I post my stuff to Instagram because I'd like to build up a base of people who are interested in buying my stuff. But it's I'm also resolved to know that like I need to get better if I want to get to that point. It doesn't happen overnight. And that's kind of where I'm at. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, I do get concerned with that. I've had to like sit there and take it while I've had some paintings where just like not coming together on here or in the way that I particularly liked. But it's part of the risk of it. I'm like, I'm resolved to my fate if it goes south. But so far so good, I guess. Yeah. I have a degree in mechanical engineering, and I've worked as an engineer basically my entire career. I would say yes, because it hits the same parts of my brain that I like about engineering, if that makes sense. Like what got me liking painting so much was like the complexities of color, seeing color, mixing color. At the initial time, it wasn't the values. It was like, oh wow, like color is so interesting in how it works. And I thought it was so interesting. And that's why like I got into it as much as I did. And so I'll say, like, you know, painting is such a complexity that it attracted, you know, it hooked me. It hooked me in. Just like the same reason I got into engineering. So yes, I would contend that it has, you know, it has affected my ability to paint, or like what I at least enjoy in painting. I guess you're what, like you mentioned before, is like trusting the process, and that's what attracted me to Draw Mix Paint so much. Is that his ability to like break things down technically reminded me actually a lot of how an engineer approaches, like, or like how you approach an engineering problem. Um, and yeah, I mean, long and short of that. I do not, because I don't know. I've had problems actually doing that, but I haven't made a huge concerted effort towards doing it. If that makes sense. Like I haven't gone in to say I'm gonna force myself to do it. So like I've done it casually, but not like for, like I said, like forcing myself to do it, which is probably something I should do. But like I said, I just haven't. But I do think that's not because I don't think there's value in that, but it's kind of like I think more related to like I am focusing on other stuff. Do these bright highlights look weird at all to you? Maybe right here. Yeah, I think it looks. I think my camera desaturates it a little bit, but I do see what you're saying. I think it's showing the picture much more yellow than it actually is. It's actually interesting. I'm looking at my my screen. It looks so much more yellow on my. Oh, you know what that is actually? I'll tell you what it is actually. I have color calibrated my monitors, and the monitor I look at for my reference is color calibrated, and the monitor that I'm looking at for my stream is not, and so it actually shows colors less accurately. So, oh, you don't believe me, Jake? So that's probably what's doing a difference. Fine, don't believe me. Yeah, I am more concerned with the value. Sometimes when you're putting in like the brightest brights, it's like um you could be like, is this correct? Glad you? What do you mean by that? Oh, gotcha. Well, this is the one I did. Yeah, I get that. This one is was the one I did yesterday with a bunch of iterations on it. So this time I'm trying to follow my like brush discipline, and I thought it'd be an interesting thing. So I have unlimited brush strokes, but I have to follow some things I've been doing. Yeah, I you know, there's definitely, I think, good value in what I was doing, and I'll probably go back to it at some point. But I think I need to expand into putting the stuff I've learned into practice. This is a canvas that's just taped onto a canvas, or like a packaged canvas. So this is not for it does not have a frame associated with it. Oh, did it end? I'm sorry. I had spooky music going on for the skeleton theme. You know, because we're doing a spoopy, terrifying skeleton. Ooh, spooky! That's my attempt. Take it or leave it. Good. I'm glad somebody did. Yes, I have actually. If you go to my Instagram, I use Midjourney. If you go to my Instagram, I'll tell you which ones I use to generate AI images. All right, the skeleton on the beach was AI generated. The smoking skeleton sitting in a field was AI generated. The skeleton at a desk with that lamp was AI generated. And the one with like the sunset and the flowers was also AI generated. I have no, Draw Mix Paint, I have no issue with it using it for image generation as far as generating a reference. But if you were to try and pass it off as your own work, then I would have problems. I have a lot of ethical issues with that. Yep. So, like, I don't consider it as a viable, or not a viable. I don't consider it. I think it is unethical to call it your own work. If you just like generated an image and said this is mine. Like I created this with my own skill. But if you use it for reference, I have absolutely no issues with that. However, I do think there's plenty of issues with the future of AI and how it correlates to taking away work from people. So, like, overall, I'm not necessarily, like, stoked it's around, but it's an inevitability of technological gain. So we're going to have to learn to adapt it into our culture. And I hope that people pick up on, like, the ethics of using it for, like, commercial use. So yeah, that's where I'm at on the issue. Oh, thank you, Jake. Jake, I think your Prime sub is up, by the way. Yeah, I agree. Thank you, Jake. Surviving, you now have access to my emotes that are also paintings of mine. Yeah, basically you don't see ads anymore, and you get to use my emotes. So if you go to the emote button, you'll get to see like my emotes on there, and now you could use those in chat. The big deal is you no longer get ads as long as you're subscribed. Yep, there they are. Thank you, Jake. I appreciate it, man. By the way, Surviving, J.H. Scott is a childhood friend of mine. We've known each other since 8th grade. We are now in our 30s. Ah, shit. I think I'm fiddling around with this too much. Yeah, this side is off, but I think if I brought this in anymore, I'd have to bring in the edge, and I'm like a little concerned with that. But I do see what you're seeing, Jake. I usually stop when yeah, I don't think it's like a problem enough to fix it at the moment. But yeah, Surviving. I usually stop when I think to myself that like even if I know the issues, right? If I say I'm not skilled enough to fix what's inherently wrong with this, or I get the thought that I'm playing around with this too much, like I just had. So that's why I'm kind of just busting out the black for the last minute, like, cleanup of some certain things. But I'm actually pretty happy with this. I think it looks pretty cool. I see one brushstroke that might be beneficial. Yeah, it's a Chad jaw. Well, it is a self-portrait, so, I mean, my jaw is exactly like that. Let's see something else. Okay. Any comments, concerns, criticisms? I will not be taking questions. Don't forget to dislike and unsubscribe. All right, what's your question? But I will not be taking questions. I think the values are pretty good on this. Whew, God. Probably like 1 to a half of single ply. Right? He's very inappropriate surviving. I'm not gonna sell this. I'm gonna give it to my niece. But yeah, you're probably right. I should just black out the rest of it. I got the black on my palette. My niece likes skeletons. But I will sell it to either of you for $1 trillion. Offer on the table. Stanley Nichols. Oh, well, thank you, Jake. I appreciate that. Oh, are you talking about $1 trillion Stanley Nichols surviving? Now, how much would that be worth? Sorry, I know what you're talking about. Fine, if you can get me $1 trillion Stanley Nichols. Oh shit! I remember this. This is one of the episodes I have seen. I've still only ever watched a Jim and Pam's wedding. I guess no, technically I've seen some more. I've seen where Michael and what is that, Holly? I've seen some of those episodes too. I was trying to think of what the next line was, and then you hit it. All right. So this is yeah, this self-portrait turned out all right. Kind of happy with it. I don't have to, but since I just painted everything black, I mean, I can do it. Hold on. I gotta pull back out of the glove. Thank you, Surviving, and thanks for hanging out, both of you. Streaming is a lot easier when you have people to talk to. Alright, let's, what's the best way to do this? I should do the bottom one first. No worries. People have lives. Alright, so... yeah, no worries, man. I appreciate you. I mean... uh-oh. This tape got sticky. It's sticking to my hands. How is this so sticky? It's just painter's tape. Alright. But no, man, you've been one of the more supportive people, so you have nothing to apologize for. Okay, all right. Last tape removal. There we go. This niece is 11. My brother is 8 years older than me, so she's into like ghost shows and she's into like spooky things, and I've drawn a lot of skulls, so I just default give them to her. Yeah, I think she'll like this one. If you recall, the singing gnome, the person who was chatting with you right in the beginning, that was her. So yeah. I am fairly happy with this. But thank you, Jake. I really do appreciate that. I know you don't kind of like bullshit on those type of things, so. Well, $1 trillion can be yours. Oh, we just dropping puns now, Surviving? Oh, shit. That is true, Jake. You are the number one supporter. Oh, dude, it's all right, man. I just need people. I just like when people are here. I like being able to speak with people. We have good art discussion. Laugh a little bit. Yesterday, yeah. No worries, man. But yeah, yesterday I streamed, and I streamed for like 3.5 hours, no, 4 hours, and nobody, like, it's like at one point I had like 6 people, but nobody typed a message in, so I was just painting in like silence the entire time. It was just like, it makes you reflect on when you have people to talk to. But yeah. I was thinking about doing 2 of these, but then I spent longer on this one, so we'll save that canvas. Maybe I'll paint tomorrow. We could do another one like this. Maybe not a skull, but maybe something else. I do think it's super sellable. Yeah, I don't disagree with you. The only problem is it's not on a frame, you know, so like you see it's just a sheet, so but there'll be more to come. So, and maybe I'll do another skull tomorrow. Well, thank you. Yeah, I'll do another, you know, I'm not going to do like a set of 16 same stuff. I'll do a full painting, like this though. It won't be on a full canvas, but yeah. All right. Maybe I'll do the arcane one tomorrow. We'll see. I'll think about it. Yeah, I believe you. I mean, League of Legends stuff would be, I think, super sellable. But here, I'm gonna put this down because my arm's starting to get tired. Oh. But yeah. Well, here, can you do me a favor tonight, Jake? Pick out. Awesome. Yeah, Surviving, thanks for joining me today, man. It was nice talking with you. I'm happy. I love nerding out about art stuff. So, but yeah, Jake, can you send me some more stills from Arcane that you think would be good? And I'll take a look and see if there's any that are like. Try and keep them simple. Yeah, Surviving, you have a good evening as well, man. And yeah, I'll try and stream tomorrow. If I don't stream tomorrow, though, I'll definitely be streaming the day after. So, but I'll try and stream. So, all right. Well, Jake, thanks again for the sub. Thanks for the support. I do appreciate that. Surviving, thank you again. And we'll see you all in hell. I'm already there. Anyways, guys, peace out.